Consumer drinking habits and alcohol regulations in the US and Europe. 53% of the US population prefers beer as their alcoholic beverage. 53% of the Germans prefer to drink beer as their favorite alcoholic beverage. 45% of the Spanish population drinks beer. 62% of the French population choose wine as their preferred alcoholic beverage. The legal drinking age in the United States is 21. In France, the legal drinking age is 18. And in Spain and Germany, the legal drinking age is 16. There are differences in the advertising and marketing support for beer and wine between the USA and European countries. This is in great part due to the advertising restrictions that apply for wine and beer advertising in each country. There are many differences in the drinking preference between men and women. Wine, though, is the most popular alcoholic drink among women, while beer is the more popular among men. The US has been producing wine for over 300 years. Wine has evolved as part of the European life and culture, and the winemaking emerged with the expansion of the European Union. Today, the United States is the fourth largest wine-producing country after France, Italy, and Spain. In the case of Spain, alcohol is available in the everyday culture. Alcohol is integrated while eating, and for some, the meal is considered being incomplete without a glass of wine. In Spain, the drinking culture revolves around their schedule, which involves different times a day. Drinking is done regularly at bars for social interactions. The youth in Spain are heavy drinkers and drink even more than their parents. More modern drinking patterns are seen in Spain, especially in what they drink and how they drink it. Since many years ago, Germany has been known as a drinking country. As mentioned before, beer is the most popular alcoholic drink in Germany, followed by the wine, which is mostly consumed on special occasions. The income level is linked to the quality of alcohol consumed, and higher income families drink higher value drinks. Teenage boys tend to drink in company of other teens as well as grown men. In contrast, teenage girls do not tend to drink in excess, but rather with moderation. France has consistently had the highest annual per capita alcohol consumption. A glass of wine is available in most of the meals and is part of their culture. The large consumption is due to large amount of wine production in the country. Wine drinking is comparatively heavier in the production regions. The majority of the adult population in the United States drink alcohol, beer being the preferred choice, according to the annual Gallup survey. The survey also found that men ages 18 to 49 are the heaviest drinkers of any group or gender. In Europe and in the United States, there tends to be a moderate consumption of alcohol in bars, but in summer people tend to drink more in outdoor spaces and in the beach. In Barcelona, many people tend to drink in the restaurants next to the beach, and others do picnic in parks and drink wine and beer. There are many law regulations for alcoholic drinks in Europe and the United States. In Europe, the advertisement for alcoholic beverages should be legal, decent, honest, and truthful, and should follow the principles of fair competition and good business practices. Advertisement should not be unethical nor encourage excessive or irresponsible consumption. Advertisement should not indicate any link with violent, aggressive, dangerous, or unethical behavior. Advertisements should not be aimed at minors or show minors consuming alcoholic beverages. Advertisers should avoid media or events where the majority audience are minors. Advertisements should not associate drinking with driving a motor vehicle, neither create the impression that consumption of alcohol is a requirement for social or sexual excess. A substantial part of the alcoholic advertisement regulations in Spain are established by regulations at the regional level that prohibits advertising of alcoholic drinks when associated with programs aimed at minors as an exclusive or preferred target. The ban includes direct and indirect or hidden advertisements. In some cases, the bans extend to include the first page and sports sections in newspapers. Also, alcohol is not permitted in sports events. An example of this prohibition is the FC Barcelona Stadium, the Camp Nou, where they only sell alcohol-free beer. In France, the ban on TV alcohol advertising has existed since the mid-80s. In 2009, ratification to the Louis being allowed for alcohol advertising on online platforms, thereby opening the online market, while the ban on TV, cable and national was kept. There is a partial restriction on radio, printed magazines and newspapers, and point of sales. Billboards around the country have no restrictions at all. the cinemas and product placement and TV shows and films have complete restrictions when it comes to this type of advertisement. With the help of these restrictions from 1970 to 2005, there has been a decrease in the drinking trend in France. Germany is known as a more liberal city. There are no binding restrictions for TV alcohol advertising. There is a voluntary agreement when it comes to advertising in radio, in the internet, in printed magazines and newspapers, billboards, point-of-sale materials, cinemas, and sponsored events. In cinemas, there do exist a partial restriction on what can be advertised, but there is no restriction at all in product placement in TV shows and films. Even though there are fewer restrictions than in other countries mentioned above, alcohol consumption has been declining for over a decade and continues on a downward trend. As in the United States, alcohol advertisements can only be placed in media where 70% of the audience is over 21. Alcohol advertising messages should not be designed to appeal underage people, for example, using cartoons as characters as spokespeople. Advertisements should never discourage irresponsible drinking. Another issue in media placement is whether media vendors will accept the alcohol advertising, and the decision to accept an individual ad or a category of advertising is always at the discretion of the owner or publisher of a media outlet. Also, in the US, you can drink in sports events. For example, in baseball games they sell beer but in plastic bottles. Different drinking habits exist between the US and Europe, even between the different countries in Europe. These countries do not share the same culture and tend to be very loyal to their local brands. An example of this is in the market share of Heineken in the US of only 1.9% and in Netherlands, the country of origin, with 48.5%. The same happens with the US beer Bud Light, has 19% of the market share in the US, and all American beers have around 90% of all the market share, and in Europe is approximately 2%. European brands have penetrated in the US with limited market share, and the same happens to the US brands. When traveling to different countries or making business, all habits and laws from each country need to be taken in consideration. Each country has a different drinking age, and regulations differ from country to country.